All right, everybody, welcome to the program. This is the Otherppl Show, a weekly podcast featuring in-depth conversations with today's leading writers. It's a books and culture show. I'm Brad Listi, and I'm here in Los Angeles. Thank you for listening. Don't forget to subscribe, and you can follow me on Instagram and Blue Sky. And I'm going to do a monologue today. I did one recently, and I sort of talked about how I haven't been doing them for a while, and then I heard from people. And this is usually the case. People will be like, I actually like the monologues. I actually want to know about what you're eating and how you're not sleeping and what you're worried about and how you're neurotic and all this stuff. And then I think to myself, wow, I guess this is what people want. They actually want this. But then I think about all the people I didn't hear from who are sort of silently relieved. So I don't know what to do. Maybe I'll do monologues sometimes. Maybe I'll do them all the time. I do feel like there's something kind of rote about the way that I've been introducing the show in recent years. It's kind of formal, it's scripted, it's just the facts. I do the introduction of the author. I talk about the book a little bit. I do some ads, and then I introduce the author again. I give their bio, and then I introduce the interview. It's all about just getting to the interview. In my head, I'm thinking, they just want to hear the interview. They're not here for me. They're not here to listen to me ramble. I'm not a performer. That's not what I do. I know there's a performative element to podcasting. I've talked about this before, but I feel a little bit silly kind of putting on the guise of a performer. I'm a person who is confused in public. This is how I conceive of myself, and I ask questions of intelligent people who have written books. So I don't want to force it, and I don't want you to be sitting at home being like, oh, well, this is sad, watching middle-aged Brad try to be funny in a monologue, and then it just gets annoying, and you just fast forward, which you might have already done. But I can try, I guess, to just talk honestly, to try to just unleash whatever concerns I have in my mind and to try to kind of connect parasocially. I will say that I'm feeling pretty hopeful today. The election on Tuesday, first real glimmer of hope in the United States of America in a long time. So that's good. It was nice to see people happy. It was nice to see people on social media celebrating. It was nice to hope scroll for a change. Can we do this? Are things going to be better? Is it possible? Wait a minute. Are we not doomed? Are we all moving to New York? Are we all packing up? Take the family to Brooklyn? Make a mid-career pivot, become a DJ in Bushwick, get some tattoos, live in the socialist utopia. I was happy to see Zoran win. He's a really gifted politician. I'm kind of blown away by the whole thing, the fact that he came from out of nowhere and did this. It's very encouraging. And I have a text thread going with some friends of mine who are more like centrist type people. They're also very wealthy, incidentally, but they're old friends of mine, and we go back and forth. And, I think I'm in a stage of my political evolution where I'm just open and questioning and, frankly, humbled by the events of the past 10 years. I don't fucking know. And so that's kind of the posture that I've been presenting in the text thread. That's why I'm excited about Zoran. Listen, I don't know how it's going to go. I can imagine the knives are going to come out. I mean, they've already been out. But now that he's won all that big money, all those oligarchs, all those people and political forces that don't want to see somebody like him succeed and don't want the kinds of ideas that he has politically to flourish. I think there's going to be a really concentrated effort on on the part of those kinds of people to try to make sure that he is unsuccessful. And what I'm hoping is that the people of New York, the citizenry, the people who supported him, that they stay engaged and that they beat back those forces, because that's the way it'll happen. If it's just Zoran versus the world and everybody's like, all right, we elected him, like our job is done here, it's really not. I think for him to actually be able to implement his agenda, it's going to take an engaged citizenry. I like to think people know that. Certainly he thinks that and has been saying that. But I wouldn't underestimate the kind of pushback that he's going to get, and the kind of like media treatment that he's going to get, and the way that Trump is going to come after him and try to make him into a demon and try to use him as a political foil. But I will say this, Zoran is a very good politician too. And, I say too because Trump, in his way, speaking to his base, he's clearly got some facility for connecting with them in whatever weird and backwards ways he does that. But, I don't know. I like my guy in a fight. And I think Trump might find out that he has a formidable opponent, not only in Zoran, but in his entire movement. People are not having it. And I mean, it wasn't just in New York, right? People all over the country in every kind of race basically said, fuck you. So that was nice. It's nice. It's nice to feel good. It's nice to think, okay, maybe we can right this ship. And then I start thinking about 2028. Well, what's that going to look like? Are there going to be elections? First of all, you would think Trump and his crew are probably thinking, this might not be a good idea to keep having elections if this is the way it's going to go. So maybe they'll try to subvert that. We can't let them be successful. But if there is a free and fair election in 2028, however turbulent it might be, the Democratic primary process really fascinates me. We're in an interesting moment. This sort of turning away from the old and stepping into the new, which is long overdue. I think if there's one takeaway from this whole thing, or one of the biggest takeaways, it's that, young politicians with creative, forward-thinking campaigns and new ideas, well, that excites voters, clearly. So when we get to 2028 and there's a primary process and you have all these candidates vying to be the nominee, I think there's going to be a battle royal between some left-wing politician, like a leftist, democratic socialist sort of person like AOC, or I honestly don't know who it would be. And then you're going to have like the Gavin Newsom kind of old guard. Who else is like an old guard politician who will probably run? Like Kamala might run. Who knows? But you know what I'm saying? There's going to be a tension that's going to need to resolve itself. I think that's that's healthy. I think it's good to have a big tent. I don't think we should have some crazy purity test. That's not the way to build a winning coalition. But I think we're at a stage where there's going to have to be some real communication between the factions. And maybe there's going to be a politician who can thread the needle and sort of unify. And I guess that's what's fascinating to me, is like, who would that be? I don't know. I also watch what Zoran did, and I'm like, wow, is somebody going to come from out of nowhere? Like somebody we're not even thinking of right now, who's not even in, public office at the federal level or something, like some kind of Mayor Pete figure. Not meaning that it will be Pete, but it'll be some like small town mayor. Do you know what I'm saying? So very encouraging. And I just found myself going online. It's funny, like Zoran won. I'm so excited. I'm reading all the social media. I'm blue skying people kind of, who are making funny jokes and celebrating. And then just a bit ago, I was like, well, wait a minute. The Democratic Socialists won. Do I even know what democratic socialism is? I mean, like in context, I sort of do, but do I really know? Am I a fool? Am I just like going along for the ride without any real clarity? Which, like, it wouldn't be the first time politically. It's easy to get swept up. I think a lot of people who are excited about Zoran have no idea what democratic socialism is. They just like what he's saying, and they like his energy and his authenticity and his compassion and his seeming sanity. So I'm like reading online about like what democratic socialism is versus like what social democracy is. And the reality is that there's lots of different definitions. That's kind of what I take away. Bernie, when he talks about democratic socialism, is really talking about social democracy. I think the people who are running DSA, the Democratic Socialists of America, are maybe espousing like a purer form of democratic socialism that doesn't allow for capitalism to play a role. I think in my head, I'm like, maybe some kind of blend. I feel like blends are just a reflection of how reality actually is. Whenever people start talking about purity, I get a little nervous. There's no such thing. Nothing is all one way. Everything is an amalgam. The question for me, this is like how I have it in my head. This is what I keep telling my centrist friends who are very wealthy. I'm like, listen, guys, I'm not saying that I espouse this or that I'm like, some sort of like ultra ideological person. I like to think I'm a sane person, relatively sane, who wants what's best for people and wants to live in a healthy environment and in a world and in a country where people can make a living, have a house, have some mental health care if they need it, have benefits, have access to health care and education. This stuff should not be pie in the sky. It's doable. This is the wealthiest country in the history of the world. How have we gotten sold this bill of goods that tells us that this stuff isn't possible? Here's the other thing. Have we ever seen it play out in our lifetimes? Like if you're my age, I was born in 1975, we've never seen democratic socialism. The last time we saw anything resembling real democratic socialism in action in this country was FDR. And what did FDR unleash? Like the greatest wave of prosperity decade over decade that the world has ever seen. It created the American middle class. My parents and their generation, the baby boomers, single income families buying homes and sending their kids to college, guys working in factories and union jobs, sending their kids to college, owning homes, being able to have a life. That didn't happen by accident. And I'm not saying that FDR was perfect or that there's some sort of panacea, but policy has consequences. So I think in my head, I'm like, well, look, we haven't tried this in my lifetime. We've tried like middle of the road, centrist Democrat stuff. We've tried slightly more left Democrat stuff. We've tried hyper-capitalist conservatism. We've tried Christian conservatism. We've tried fascism, white supremacist, insane, kleptocracy. How's that going? How's all of it going? We've tried capitalism in every kind of way, on steroids, on like slightly fewer steroids. How's that going for us? Well, for the people who are rich, it's like, well, it's going great. System's working. Don't touch my money. But for the overwhelming majority of people, 90% of people, whatever it is, not so great. That should tell us something. So in my head, I'm like, okay, well, it's not, if you look around, ecological collapse, mass inequality, these freakish oligarchs on their yachts with their outsized power and influence and insanity, fascism in America, a reality TV criminal sitting in the White House. How's it going? We tried all these things, and this is where it led us. Let's try something else. Let's try the other thing that everybody, and by everybody I mean people in power, people in the media, has been telling us my whole life is dangerous, is bad. So I think in my questioning mode, I'm like, yeah, who are the vested interests who would want people to believe that, trying democratic socialism or recalibrating the American political spectrum a little bit to the left, or maybe even a lot to the left since we're so out of balance, would be bad for people? Who would have a vested interest in propagating that? Probably people with lots of money and power who are benefiting from the system that has led us to the brink. Right? Anyway, that's where my head is at. I don't know what else to say. And then this morning, I wake up and I'm talking to my wife and she's like, oh yeah, Leslie's coming to the house to keep an eye on Riv, our son. He's been home from school this week for health reasons. And it's nothing crazy, but it's just, he's out of school for a couple days. And so I'm like, oh, really? And she's like, yeah, I have to go in for a doctor's appointment. I'm like, oh, okay. She's like, yeah, I'm having a heart scan. And I'm like, a heart scan? What the fuck? I'm like, what do you mean a heart scan? Like, what? You're just telling me you're going in for a heart scan? Like, how do I not know about this? And she's like, oh, yeah, I got tested and I have the thing that runs in my family. I'm like, what thing? It's like 7:00 in the morning. I'm like, what? You're just dropping this on me? And it's some like lipid that causes clotting. And so she's got to get a scan just to see where things are to make sure it's okay. And I'm just like, Jesus Christ. It's always something. It's always coming at me. I guess that's life. You probably have some version of that. And I'm like, why didn't you tell me this? Like, why am I not clued in? And she's like, well, I went to the doctor and I didn't want to freak you out, And then I'm like, well, wait, do I need a heart scan? Does insurance cover it? Probably not. So, so that's happening. And then, Leslie has a baby. So she brought her baby to the house. We have a baby inside the house right now. And my son is in there and he's constantly filming shit with his iPad. He's obsessed. He thinks he has like a YouTube channel. He doesn't. Or maybe he does, but I don't think he even knows how to post it. And it's like a private channel that my daughter set up. But he sort of acts like he's a YouTuber. And, for people listening who are brand new, my son has disabilities. So, he's got like some suspension of disbelief happening. He really thinks he's making a YouTube show. And he's like hovering over the baby, filming the baby. And he's got this big iPad. And I'm like, dude, he's going to drop the iPad on the baby. We're headed for disaster. But so far, I'm like pulling him back. I'm not in there. So hopefully, it's being managed. But I am slightly concerned as I sit here that my son is going to drop the iPad on the child. I love a baby. I love hanging out with babies. I wish I could be in there, just like holding the baby. I like to hold a baby. I like the smell of babies. I like the milk breath. I like all of it. That's a great age. It's a magical time. That's a child before it becomes a person and things get complicated. That's a human being who is like without fault, pristine, a blank slate. Possibly like multiple souls at once, kind of maybe sorting themselves out or winnowing away past lives and sort of concentrating eventually into the current one. Who knows what it is, but there's something cosmic and wonderful and beautiful about a baby. And yet I'm in here. I'm doing my work. I've got a new DeepDive course coming soon. Maybe I should just announce it right now. Should I announce it? I'll announce it. It's called How to Get the Reader on Board, and it's taught by Steve Almond. You guys know Steve, right? This is a really good course. If you're interested in learning how to really draw readers in, how to open a book, whether it's fiction, nonfiction, whatever. Just how to begin, how to create a compelling beginning. There's lots of different ways, and Steve is a magnificent teacher and talker. I've had him on this show a million times. If you've never heard Steve Almond talk, the guy's got like an extra gear verbally. He speaks in paragraphs, you know. So How to Get the Reader on Board is a shorter form course from DeepDive, and it's going to be available soon. I'm trying to get it all together. That's what I got to do today. But it's close. And that's exciting. So otherwise, there is the flagship course from DeepDive, How to Write a Novel. It's more than 50 hours long. There are nearly 4 dozen instructors, all of whom are acclaimed contemporary writers. So like Emily St. John Mandel, Melissa Broder, Vivi Ganeshananthan, Stephen Graham Jones, Kimberly King Parsons, Juliet Escoria, Madeline Lucas, Tiffany Clark Harrison, you name it. That's the big one. And I think it's the greatest how to write a novel course ever invented. And then otherwise, there is How to Write Autobiographical Fiction, which is taught by Hannah Pittard. And this is a shorter form course. It's an intensive. It features also Michael Wheaton, the founder of Autofocus Books. And it's all about how to write autofiction. So check that out at www.deepdive.audio and write your book. It's time. It's probably past time. You can listen to these courses online. You get lifetime access, first of all. You can listen online, stream it, whatever, right there on the web, or better yet, via the DeepDive app. So you can kind of take it with you wherever you go. You can listen in the car, or while you're walking the dog, while you're on the treadmill. It's meant to be user-friendly. And there's a 14-day money-back guarantee, too. So check it out. www.deepdive.audio. I have a newsletter. Sign up for that over at bradlisti.substack.com. I'll stay in touch once a week via email, bradlisti.substack.com. I'll let you know about the latest episodes of the show. I also share a list of links to things that I've been reading and finding interesting. My guest today is Asia Gabel. Her new novel, Lightbreakers, is available now from Riverhead. And it is genre-bending. It is a book that's sort of like sci-fi coupled with domestic realist fiction. It's about loss and love and human connection and time and quantum physics. It's kind of like magical. There's a little bit of magic in it. Marfa plays a role. Marfa, Texas. This is Asia Gabel's second time on the show. She guested a few years ago, I think when her debut came out, and now she's back celebrating the publication of this new one. Again, it is called Lightbreakers. Today's episode is brought to you by Abrams Books, publisher of the novel Open Wide by Jessica Gross. It's about an obsessive radio host who can't help but test the boundaries of her boyfriend's love. This is a book about intimacy, love, consent. It's a little bit surreal. It's a little bit funny. It's about relationships. You know what I mean. It's also the official November pick of the Otherppl book club, which is my book club. You should sign up over at otherppl.com. Again, this novel is called Open Wide by Jessica Gross. It's available from Abrams Press. And I think that's it. Let's get started. I did a monologue, so this has been going on for a while. Maybe you fast forwarded. Maybe you're still here. Maybe you enjoyed this. Maybe you didn't. Just testing things out. We're in a new world, and I'm experimenting. So I am very pleased to have had the chance to talk with Asia Gabel again about this new novel of hers. Oh, you know what else I want to say? I kind of feel like maybe I should do looser interviews again, the way that I used to, where I just kind of winged it a little bit. Not that I'm going to totally wing it, but just that there needs to be more of that. I feel like this real sense of obligation to kind of cover the text in depth and to have like a moment for this author to really get into the work that they've done. That seems right. But at the same time, it's a lot for me to process doing 3 episodes a week, reading 1 and 2 books a week. It's a lot. I feel like I'm just ingesting a lot. And there's a part of me, I think, that would just love to just be like, hey, what's going on? How are you feeling? But I don't want people on the show to be like, why is he doing this? Like, I don't want to talk to this guy unless he's going to like lionize me and, showcase my book. Literary media, I will go to the mat for this. Literary media is challenging for this reason. Just because it's in depth, it's intense. You got to really engage. It's a lot to hold in your head. It's not just like talking about an album or a movie or something. There's a lot going on in a book. But, maybe that's something I need to do, is try to recalibrate it a little bit, try to be a little bit looser, break out. New me, what is it? New political world, new Brad. Everything's changing. Get some tattoos. Learn how to become a DJ. Buy a loft in Brooklyn. We can see it. Go to the co-op, go to one of these public grocery stores. So I had a great time talking with Asia Gabel about this new novel of hers called Lightbreakers. Let's get to it. The book is available from Riverhead. Here I am with Asia Gabel.
This book is about a couple who the husband is a physicist and he gets invited to a mysterious project in Marfa, Texas, to be a part of it. And so he and his wife, his artist wife, moved to Marfa. And it turns out that this project is playing with time travel. And it also turns out that he had a previous marriage in which the daughter in that marriage died. So as he starts to play with going back to a past that he is not healed from, his wife Maya, decides to leave him and go back to her home of Tokyo and revisit a past lover of her own. And the story is kind of about them trying to find their way back to each other. How this came to be is it's in many ways, it feels like it's been in the process for 20 years. I have been wanting to write about grief for a long time. And Wait,
why?
Well, when I was 19 and 20, I lost my father and my brother very quickly to cancer and to a freak heart attack. And I sort of walked through my 20s not understanding how I could ever be a person after that happened. And I became a writer and I wrote literary fiction. And then I remember in 2016, I saw the movie Arrival and I read the story it was based on, the Ted Chiang short story. It was based on the story of your life. And I thought, oh, this makes sense. This is what grief is. Grief is about, because grief warps your understanding of time. And that's what that movie and that story is about. This couple that's in grieving encounters an alien species whose new understanding of time helps them heal. And I realized that I had spent so many years, decades, trying to understand, trying to stop time, trying to figure out how death could not be binary, trying to figure out how I could get all that time back with them. And when I figured out that I could explore that in speculative fiction, that made a lot of sense to me. And that's kind of where this began, really.
Wow, that's heavy. I didn't realize you lost your dad and your brother, and it was close together?
Yeah, I was a sophomore in college when my brother passed very suddenly on a heart attack that kind of nobody knew was coming. And My dad had recently gotten diagnosed with cancer, and then a year and a half later, he died as well. And it just sort of rippled through my family, and then I graduated college, and I just had to go be a person, and I wasn't really equipped to understand what had happened to me for a long time. Not to make things heavy, but I'm happy to talk about it. It's been a long time, and I feel like in a lot of ways this book helped me find a way to talk about all of this.
Yeah, I get it. I mean, I've been through grief experiences that were really profound, and then you just sort of feel shell-shocked. And I get the idea of like being nonverbal about it. Like, what do you say? You're sort of speechless and broken.
Yeah. And then you kind of have to put yourself back together, but you're not the same. And I remember I was in the room when my dad died, which I think, now at my age, a lot of us are experiencing this, 20 years later, we are watching our parents die. And in a lot of ways, that was the most painful time, the most painful moment of my entire life, because it was so clear that like death was binary. Like all of a sudden he was not there in an instant. Like I mean, he hadn't been awake for 12 hours at that point, but the moment he died, it was like something was gone. And I feel like I understood then that there was like a necessity for some kind of spiritual belief, because otherwise it was too scientific. It was people are alive and then they're dead. And that's a horrible thought, because you want to carry that person with you for a long time. And I wasn't very spiritual at that point. I mean, I wouldn't call myself spiritual, but I needed something to believe in. And in a lot of ways, this book is about like a scientist trying to figure out how to believe in something that isn't scientific.
Wait, like, yeah, where are you spiritually after all this?
I grew up Buddhist, which in many ways, like a Japanese Buddhist temple, which is in many ways like not very religious, but quite spiritual. And I sort of carried that with me through my life, but I stopped practicing like after I moved out of my parents' home. Now, then I spent like my 20s and 30s really priding myself on like believing in science and like not being a fool who was religious and not believing in some pretend idea of what happens, because that didn't have a model for like what that was, what that would look like in a person who believed in science and had an education. And when I kind of went into speculative fiction, and started reading a lot more and writing about it, I found that there was a way, there's like, especially quantum physics, there's so much that we don't know and so much that requires faith to believe in. And quantum physics is a kind of magic that made me feel okay with understanding that like, okay, people have energy and energy never goes away. And so if a person creates all this energy in their life, then that still exists somewhere. And maybe it exists in the people that remember them. And maybe that's like a form of spirituality, of like carrying a person with you, is in sort of the energy transfer of a person throughout their whole life. So that's kind of where I am now. But I'm also wary of getting too like LA woo-woo with it, like.
No, please. This is the place for that.
But I really do believe that. I mean, I felt that, I think, when my dad died too, in front of me. I was like, oh, there's a whole life force that was here. Like it went somewhere. And so I think I spent a long time trying to figure out where it went. And I think it just went to me, which is kind of great.
Well, okay. That's kind of where I am. Yeah. So this is the way I try to explain it to my kids. Totally unsuccessfully, by the way. I took 3 candles and then I lit 2 of them. And then I brought the 2 candles together and I lit the 3rd candle. And then I blew out one of the candles. And I was like, see, like the flame is still there in the 3rd candle, like it just transfers. I think that's observably true.
Yeah.
Like your dad made you. You're of the biological stuff of
Yeah.
your dad. Like you're inextricable. Like there's not like really a separation. I'm also curious, like as somebody who's like Buddhist, but not, I wasn't raised in it. Like I came to it on my own, when I was in college, and I'm sort of like on my own still. I don't go to a temple or anything, but I've been on a one retreat. But like when you go to temple, like formally, like on like for what, Sunday or whatever day of the week you go, like what happens at a Buddhist temple service, like a weekly service? Do you all sit there and meditate?
No, I mean, I think in Zen Buddhism, you meditate. I've been to like 1 or 2 Zen Buddhist temples, and that's very different from Buddhism that I grew up with, which the Buddhism I grew up with looks very much like Christian church service. You go to temple, and I mean, it's kind of close to Catholicism, I think. Like you do an incense offering, which it's like similar to communion. Like you go up to the shrine, you all get in line, you go up to the shrine, and you light incense and add it to the shrine. You bow, and then you go back to your seat, and then you do, I mean, maybe this is meditating, but you chant together from the book, and they're Japanese chants. And then that's like 5 minutes of similar to like singing in church, which I imagine a lot of Christian churches do. And then the pastor delivers a homily, the reverend. And I mean, I don't know if they call it a homily, it's a lecture, but it's a lecture about a story from Buddhism, often about Siddhartha. And that's it. And that's the church. And it's very similar to what I think Christian churches are. But I think
without the crucifix, without the guy nailed to a cross, which is really macabre when you think about it.
It is. I mean, and also like communion is macabre too.
Yeah.
But the thing I remember from being a kid in those lectures, those sermons, was over and over our reverend would say that like there was lots of space for other ideas. Like there was no concept of like hell or condemnation. It was like only sort of like the path towards enlightenment. So, and what you could do in your daily life to go towards that, and not like punishment or retribution by any kind of spirit or anything. And she talked a lot. Our reverend was a woman. She talked a lot about like other religions too, and how similar they were and what they believed, and nothing was sort of wrong or not allowed. So that kind of like openness was the thing I remember the most from having to go every Sunday as a kid. Like,
well, that's what I like about Buddhism. Like Thich Nhat Hanh, I mean, he's dead now, but I follow him on Instagram, or some variation of him on Instagram, which is its own kind of afterlife. God. Yeah, but there's a quote from him where he's basically saying, like, I heard from a friend of mine who's like a Catholic monk or something, who said that like becoming Buddhist had helped his Catholicism. And he was like, that's great. Like you can be another religion and also be Buddhist. Like you don't have to, it's not like a religion where you have to like buy in and like, this is God and this is mine and this is the best. And that's what I like. It's like secular.
Yeah. It makes you as a kid, I think, feel really safe, because no one else I grew up with was like Buddhist either, like in my high school or my elementary schools and things. So,
where'd you grow up?
I grew up in Santa Rosa, California.
Okay. I think we might have talked about this last time you were on, but I've done so many of these conversations. They all sort of blend together after a certain point.
How dare you not remember every detail of 7 years ago?
I feel like Northern California, Santa Rosa, it's surprising to me a little bit that you were the only Buddhist. I feel like Northern California, there would have been at least like another one.
Yeah. I mean, it's very, like, obviously there are people who went to this temple, but we had to drive like 40 minutes to go to this temple. Like we drove to Sebastopol to go to this temple. And a lot of the families were Japanese families. And like they came from all over Sonoma County, which is like 500,000 people live in Sonoma County. And the schools I went to were just like in a neighborhood that was primarily white and Latinx. And so I just didn't have a lot of people who knew what Buddhism was. Kind of pretty normie up in Santa Rosa.
Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, probably more than I'm imagining.
Yeah.
So this book is a long time coming, and
Yeah.
I feel like you got to kind of go through the paces in life to get to a place where you have enough perspective maybe to handle the material, to be able to sort of see it in focus. I can imagine the impulse to want to write about it. Like that seems very natural. You're dealing with a deep grief. I've done that where you're like, okay, I got to make sense of this. But then you try and it's a big mess, or it's just not the right way in because you just need more time.
Yeah, you do need time. I remember who died? My brother died first. I mean, I know my brother died first. I was trying to think who died when I was in Alexander Chee's class. He was my teacher in undergrad. I would think I was in his class. And I went to him and I was like, should I write about this? And he was like, absolutely not. He was like, the best thing you can do right now is take notes. But he was like, it's way too soon. You don't know what it means yet. And several people told me that. I remember I went to after my dad died, I went and got my eyes checked. Like not because my dad died, just I went to the optometrist like a couple months later. And the woman was taking my medical history, and you're like sitting in a dim room, and they had dilated my eyes. And so I was like starting to not be able to see anything. I was like very disoriented. And she was like, okay, so when did your brother die? Oh, a year and a half ago. Okay. When did your dad die? Oh, 2 months ago. And she stops and she was like, oh, my dad died when I was 19. And she said, it hasn't even hit you yet. And I was like, what?
Thanks, lady.
But she was right. But I was horrified because I felt like I was a mess. I felt horrible every day. And she was right. It was years later that I was like, even understanding what had happened and how that was affecting the decisions that I was making. Decisions I was making.
What had happened? And then how did it affect you?
I think that I felt like he was the center of my family. And I think that the bottom fell out and I was completely on my own. Like nobody was in charge. And I was about to graduate college and I didn't really understand that because when you graduate college, when you're 21 and 22, you think you're a grown up. But you all of a sudden have to do all these things that you've never done before: pay rent, get a job, do taxes, get health insurance, pay utilities, do all of these things. And on top of that, I was all of a sudden didn't have anyone who was in charge who could help me. And my mom was totally bereft, of course, so she was on her own kind of journey. And then I have 3 brothers and I had one of the brothers died. I had 2 brothers left and a sister. And they were all sort of spiraling in grief. Nobody was in charge. And so I made a bunch of terrible financial decisions. And I tried to grow up too quickly. I was like, okay, I'm going to get a corporate job and I'm going to, live this life in Washington, D.C. on my own, far away from my family. And I'm going to do all of this stuff and it's all going to work out. And I should have gone much slower. I should have moved in with friends. I should have taken it slow. Instead I made a bunch of bad financial decisions, racked up a lot of debt and drank a lot, to be honest. And it wasn't until like probably I was 30 that I realized like, oh, I didn't like run these decisions by anybody. And I didn't because I didn't think I had anybody and I felt really abandoned and I didn't know that I was feeling abandoned. And so that's, I think, when it hit me, how sad it was for that person, that young woman, like that hit me. Like she said, it like hit me like a wave of bricks. Like, oh, I didn't have compassion for myself then.
What was this corporate job you took?
Well, it's not super corporate, but I worked at the National Endowment for the Arts. Like I was a government employee, which is like it's kind of corporate in DC, like really like buttoned up and real 9 to 5, real conservative and really tedious.
Yeah.
And drinking
too much. I mean, did you go to therapy?
No. No, I didn't know about therapy. I feel so jealous about all these kids who grew up now knowing about therapy. Like, nobody told me to go to therapy. I didn't even know how to get a therapist. It seemed like I didn't grow up in a family that was like, therapy is good, you know? So I didn't get a therapist till I was like 30. And you know, but yeah. I mean, did you grow up knowing about therapy and going to therapy?
No, I never went. I mean, my buddy took his own life in college. Like that was my big like mind blower. And I think I had PTSD.
Yeah.
I think, or some variation of it. Never got therapy. Almost certainly should have. Probably would have benefited from it. But
Wait,
I
you still don't go to therapy?
No, I don't. I feel like all the therapists are they don't take insurance, and I
know.
can't afford $200 an hour or whatever. Like my son has disabilities, so like all of our money goes to his medical care.
Yeah.
So it's like and it's like it's depressing. You're like, it'd be great to talk to a therapist once a week, but the good ones, especially are like, yeah, I have very little time because my client list is long, and it's $200 or $300 an hour, and I'm like, okay, like who can do this? It's like therapy is for the rich.
Yeah, I know. All those friends I grew up who knew about therapy were rich kids, but the WGA has great insurance reimbursement for therapists, which is...
You're in the WGA?
Yes. I'm a screenwriter, a TV writer.
Oh, you are? For a show? Like you're in a room?
I just finished on a show that hasn't come out yet called 5 Star Weekend. It's an adaptation of an Ellen Hildebrand novel, those Nantucket novels. Yeah. And I've been on a few shows. I have a movie that's coming out.
So that's good.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. I mean, the industry's horrible and crumbling right now, but
yeah, it's a weird time to like be trying to do all that because I feel like the wheels are kind of coming off.
Yes, I am taking it job to job. So we'll see. I don't know. I hope there's more jobs in the next few months. That's kind of a horrible way to live, but that's how it's going right now.
Yeah, it's like lily pad to lily pad. You're just sort of hopping. That's how a lot of my friends who are TV writers are doing it. But at least you got in. It's hard to get in.
Oh my God. Now, if you're trying to get in, like, I don't even know how you would. Like, I know people who are writer's assistants who just cannot ascend from the writer's assistant, like from the assistant level, which it used to be that was the path. But I think there's so many unemployed people that they're just kind of taking all of the jobs, and then there's nothing left for entry level. Yeah. Sad times, but I'm lucky. I got this job. I don't know how I got it.
Well, and I think I read there was some Hollywood Reporter. The Hollywood Reporter covered your book, right? And how screenwriting, the work that you do in that realm informed this book. How so?
I think like this book took a really long time to actually write. Like the earliest version of this story is in my computer is like from 2017. And then I sold it as a partial in 2020. And I did not finish. I mean, 4 or 5 years of like working on this book from selling it to publishing it is a long time. Like I had what I thought was the book in 2020, and I had to throw it away and rewrite it a bunch of times, like so many times since 2020.
Why?
Because it just was not working. Like it was not like there was a version it was just way too sad. So sad. And I don't want to write a book that's a bummer. And then there was a version that had like an insane plot, like that was doing like too much plot. Like I was writing a thriller that was not this book. And because I had like been in a TV room and I was like, well, this needs to be a thriller. And so I made it into a thriller. And then my editor was like, what happened? This got away from you. Who is this new character you introduced? That person's totally gone. And then there was, I had 2 babies, and that took a long time. And then I wrote a bunch of bad stuff when I was postpartum and feeling bad about myself. And I'd throw all that away. And then, it's about,
that's a dark version, the postpartum draft.
Yeah. It is. It is. Cause I like wrote this book about this man losing his child. I didn't have a child. And then I had children, and I was like, oh no, I've gotten it horribly wrong. So I had to redo all that. And I think what screenwriting helped me do, I don't know if I would have been able to do that because I'm not that kind of writer. I'm quite precious, and screenwriting will take that right out of you. Like, people in writing rooms and development execs will just rip your thing to shreds, and you have to start over a bunch of times. You have to rewrite something 20, 30, 40 times before it even gets to be approved. And that made me be less precious. It made me be able to throw stuff away. And I think that's like, when I see friends who are like struggling to publish, that's the thing I think that their hang up is like, sometimes you have to start over many times. And I think in novel writing, like, no one really trains you how to do that. It's just hard. I mean, don't you think it's hard to throw away work like that?
It's traumatic.
Yeah. But if you understand that the goal is like to get it to be better, and it will be better, then that becomes much easier. And I think only screenwriting could have beaten that into me. In the beginning, I was like, what do you mean you don't like this? Like, I like it. But that's
all those notes that like really aren't that good. Oftentimes you go through like 40 different iterations and end up with one that's like somewhat similar to like the first one.
Exactly. I know. But there's a lot of times where it's like, yeah, you have to understand like what they're saying is wrong. Usually something's wrong, but it's not the thing they're saying is wrong, right? So trying to figure that out for yourself. Like, I'm not saying follow all the development execs notes, but like in a writing room, like, a showrunner will completely rewrite your episode. And the first time that happened, that was horrifying. And now I understand what revision is.
But you're still writing books. Is it partially because it's like, well, okay, in this realm, I get to have control. Like, I have final cut as a novelist.
Oh yeah. Like, in TV writing, you don't have any control. I mean, sorry, in feature writing, you don't have any control. Like, I just had a movie that got shot, and like, so we wrote the script and then they shot it, and I didn't hear from anyone. I was like, this is crazy that I wrote a movie and they spent like $20 million to go make it, and I don't even know what's happening. Like,
what's the movie? Who made it?
It's a shark movie. I wrote it with my friend who's a screenwriter, and it just got like really lucky, and Lionsgate wanted to make it, and it's about toxic female friendship and this friendship that falls apart when they're trapped in a cave system with a shark. I love shark movies. I love creature features. So I thought I would try to write one, and then it just, took off. And then I guess it'll come out, in the summer. I don't really know. Like, nobody tells me anything. So in TV, you get a little more control. You get to at least be on set and rewrite stuff, and the directors defer to the writers. But it is collaborative. All of those words in that episode that has my name on it are definitely not mine, like, not all of them are mine. And it's so awesome to know that I wrote every single word in this book. It's like exactly from my brain. So it is, I don't think I'll ever stop writing books, for sure. I mean, who knows if I'll be able to keep screenwriting.
Well, yeah. And I just think it's healthy. It's healthy to kind of have both going, because you have this space where it's all you, and then you have this collaborative space, which is nice.
Yeah.
In some respects too. It's nice to kind of be in a room and to kind of feed off each, assuming you like the people you're in the room with, but.
Yeah. And you don't have to be the expert on everything. Like, with a book, you're the guy. In a room, like, there's a guy who's the person that knows about robots. There's the guy who knows about the like Nantucket. There's a guy who knows about, like, there's a person for everything. And you're the person who knows about, XYZ. Like, in this case, I was kind of the person who was the grief person, because the show is kind of about grief. And it's just kind of freeing to be like, what if this thing happened? I don't know how it would happen. And someone else in the room was like, oh, I know how that happens. I can do it. So that's really freeing. It's great.
What's this shark movie called, and who stars in the movie?
It's called The Devil's Mouth, and it stars Lana Condor and Catherine Newton. It was shot in Thailand, and they're editing it now. From
That's
Lionsgate
crazy.
on Amazon. Yeah, it is crazy. It's the first movie I've ever had made. So everything is brand new. And it's wild that like that people spend all this money to make a movie. It's a lot of money, or a TV show even, you know?
Yeah. They didn't fly you over to Thailand? You didn't get to like hang out on set and eat like some Thai food?
No, I probably could have gone if I'd paid for myself, but I have children and I could just go to Thailand. Yeah.
So what did having children do to you in terms of your orientation to life and death? Like I have 2 kids. It raises the stakes, does it not?
Yeah. How old are your kids?
15
Oh my God.
and 10.
Wow. I remember when I came to your house for that first interview, there was a toddler.
Yeah. Goes fast.
Yeah, it does. I never thought about deaths as much as after I had a child, because like it made me terrified to die, like absolutely terrified. Like when I had a child, I felt like, oh, I have to stay alive for this kid. Like that's my job, is to stay alive for this child. And so then I thought about death a lot, and like how to put it off and how to prepare for it and how to make sure the kids are okay with it. And it was a weird paradox, because nothing made me feel more alive than having this baby to like, who depended on me for everything. Like my life is valuable. And then all of a sudden my death is much more real than I ever thought it could be. And I think that is kind of like that pain of like understanding what the very paper thin separation between life and death is part of like deep what child loss pain must be like. I mean, I read a lot of memoirs about child loss too, to try to really understand it after I had a child. And
Jeez, that's a heavy thing to do.
It is a heavy thing to do. Have you read Rob Delaney's memoir?
I can't. I mean, listen, I've got like my disability grief. I can't bring myself to like read a book about somebody whose child has died.
Yeah.
It's just too much for me. I got to tap out.
I understand. He is so smart and funny that, and so honest that that book really helped me understand how someone could continue to live after that. And then Yi Yan Lee's memoir, who had 2 children, she had 2 children who died by suicide, helped me understand how someone might completely change after that happened. Like she's a completely different person. And both of those memoirs are very, very different. She actually wrote 2 memoirs, one about each son. So all 3 of those memoirs are quite different from each other.
Wait. And I mean, I know Ian a little bit. She's been on the show, but I think anybody who's aware of her story and what happened is just like, you kind of left speechless. Like, what a staggering loss. But having read the book, I'm just curious, like, how is she a completely different person? Like, just completely transformed by the grief of it? Or is she like her shifted identity? Do you know what I'm saying? I'm just wondering what you mean.
She had to, I think, from reading those books, it's interesting because she's quite a private person too. There are not confessional memoirs. You don't get access to a lot of the kind of raw grief of like a Joan Didion Year of Magical Thinking or Blue Nights. Like that's pretty raw. This is much more considered. But I think she, at least in the most recent one, which is Things in Nature Merely Grow, she, by having her second son die of suicide, she, I think, had to develop a system of understanding it that a previous version of herself would not have accepted. That to be a mother who had 2 children die by suicide, if you want to continue living, you must develop like a belief system. And she kind of lays that out in the book in a way that is kind of unthinkable as a mother, but becomes thinkable by the end. And I think that's like that I don't think I think a previous version of herself could not have fathomed that. And I actually still can't as understanding that. But she comes to this place of understanding that is very different from where she started and really, really interesting.
Wait, what's the system? Can you put it in a nutshell?
Oh God. I feel like it's going to sound a little callous, and I don't mean it to. And I really recommend people read the book to really understand. But the system, I think the belief system at the end of that book is I did what I could do, and that was my job. And I did not fail my children because they killed themselves. And the title "Things in Nature Merely Grow" comes from this idea that that things grow outside of your control, and they do things outside of your control, even your children, and that their decision to leave this life did not have to do with your failures. And I think as a mother, that's really hard to understand. And the arguments that she lays out in that book, the way that she comes to that understanding it's just really compelling, because by the end, she has so much compassion for herself. And I think a lot of parents resist that idea or reject it. But I think that that's one way to survive profound grief the way that she has. It's all you have left is yourself. So you have to have compassion for yourself.
Yeah. I mean, listen, the kind of poise that she has and the kind of grace that I see, at least from a distance on social media and through her writing, the control, the emotional control that you have to have, because she wrote this book, Things in Nature Merely Grow, not too long after her second son took his own life.
I know.
I mean, so it's kind of a new grief. I mean, the son, her sons, I want to say, took their lives within just a couple of years of each other.
I think
right?
5, maybe 4 or 5. Yeah.
Unthinkable. And it's it's what you sign up for, I guess, when you decide to start a family and be a parent, is this possibility of loss and this kind of deep love and unbreakable, right? We love our kids no matter what. What's the old saying? They could back over us with a car, we'd still be like, hey,
yeah,
love you, and then to lose a child is just the thing that every parent, it's kind of in the back of your head at all times, oh God, please not me, please no. And I always say it's not quite the same. If I'm being really darkly funny, I'm this is kind of the silver medal of bad luck to have a disabled child rather than a dead child. But I don't mean to be crass, but you know what I'm saying? I know a version of that. It's tough. You just got to learn to live with it. And you know this from losing your brother and your dad. It's, it's a variation of the same thing that I'm describing. Some of these wounds, they don't heal. Or, I mean, they do heal, but there's going to be a scar, and you're going to be irrevocably changed, and you're going to maybe, it's an injury, it's a wound. So maybe you're going to walk through the world a little differently, inevitably.
And there's so much to grieve, the life that you thought you were going to have with these people. That's a huge thing to grieve. And
totally. Or the life that, in my case, it's the life that I thought he was going to have.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have all these, kids are little, this is what I always say. It's kids are little, they're dream factories. Or when you conceive a child, you find out you're pregnant. I think most parents, you start to live in your imagination about this person, right? Especially when the kid's in utero. It's what do we got going on in there? What are they going to be like? How are we going to get along? What are they going to look like? What are we going to name them? All these things start to sort of flower in your head. And then, you suffer a loss, and obviously sort of puts a punctuation mark on wherever the child died. And then if your child is diagnosed with a bunch of disabilities, and it's all of a sudden, all of those dreams that I had, or many of those dreams, just went poof.
Yeah.
And you're oh, okay, I guess I got to come up with some different dreams. But I also relate, people are always like, Brad, you're so obsessed with health and you're so healthy and you're always hiking and, you eat like nothing but leaves. And I'm like, yeah, I have a disabled kid. Like I'm trying to live to be 111.
Yeah.
Like that's how long I'm shooting for, because what's going to happen to him after I'm gone?
Yeah.
Who's going to take care of him? The government? I'm not counting on it.
Yeah.
And like the reality too, like you learn this is that like maybe family would step in. And I say maybe because it's a lot. People don't realize to take care of a disabled person, to be a caregiver 24/7, you better have some money. You better have some time, or you better really love this kid.
Yeah.
But friends, no chance. Unless it's like the greatest friend in the history of the world. Most people just back away.
Yeah.
You're on your own. So I'm going to try to live as long as I can and be working too, like productively, to try to like amass some kind of war chest for him.
Yeah.
Like that's where I'm at. And it's like, I don't know. I wish people were more sensitive to the disability community on the caregiver side when it comes to that.
Yeah.
Like parents are just like, it's isolating. You're just on your own. There's not like a system in place. And even if there is, they make you grovel for it. Like, help from the state, you know what I'm saying? Like trying to get like therapies or whatever. It's like, okay, fill out all this paperwork every year and, give us a new diagnosis or give us new medical proof every time. It's like,
my God,
lady, yeah, we can just bring him in if you want. You can have a look. I mean,
right.
I get that they have to have some burden of proof, but it becomes a little bit ridiculous. And, it's like this onerous burden on families that are already taxed,
Yeah, that sounds like a job.
Oh, it's a job. Like it really is.
Top of your job. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, my wife bears a lot of it because I'm working and doing, job stuff. But it's a lot. It's nonstop.
Yeah.
And anyway, that's just my little particular road. We all have, I think everybody gets something, right? You eventually, if you haven't got it yet, just hang out a while.
I mean, yeah. And in a way, I feel kind of lucky that I got it early. Like I see friends now going through this loss of a parent, and it is so just devastating for them. And I just kind of feel like I feel lucky that I got like to understand that earlier. Like that I now, like, when it happens again, I will be, I think, a little bit more prepared. And I think like, yeah, I mean, what you're talking about too, in terms of like letting go of the dreams you had and like coming up with new dreams. I think that like, that's one of the biggest things that I learned from like, that I'm still trying to learn, but that I learned from my dad's and brother's death. And then when I have children is like, to have love without expectations is really, really hard. Like expectations of like things they'll do or people they'll be. I feel like that because I had to grieve all of that with my family, that I'm very careful to not like place that on my children, to try to like meet them where they are. It's really, really, really hard. And I imagine it's like even harder when you have children with disabilities. Yeah.
It's funny to hear you say meet them where they are. My wife and I have said that to each other a million times through the years.
Really?
It's like, just meet him where he is, Yeah. He's not going to be where we wish he could be, right? But you just got to meet him where he is. And yeah.
That's the greatest act of love I think that you can do, is to meet someone that you love where they are. And it's in small ways and big ways. I think it's really, really hard to do. And you have to do it like every day. And I think like part of this book is about like how to love somebody who has a lot of like trauma and grief. And I think that is like another kind of thing that I wanted to say in the book that I had to like learn how to say too, is like, sometimes you just have to love them today and then like see what happens tomorrow. And I think that's really scary This also goes back to like Buddhism too. I think like that's what Buddhism helps you kind of figure out too, is like the only thing you have is like right now, and you kind of have to be the best person that you are in this moment, and then in the next moment too, and then the next one. And I think that is a lesson. Like, I think it's a lesson I like tried to teach myself in this book, but it's a lesson I keep having to like learn all the time too.
Yeah, well, I mean, it brings up interesting questions. Noah and Maya have this relationship going. He's the one who's in deep grief. He lost a child. His daughter Serena died, I think, at age 4.
Yeah,
of like a rare heart defect or something,
yes.
and unthinkable. This just a horrible wound and a horrible loss. And then Maya meets him on the other side of that. His relationship with his partner after the loss of the child blew up, as those kinds that often happens when there's child loss, is that the couple just, that's interesting. You would think people would come together. Sometimes they do, but other times, like the grief is just so large and people grieve in different ways.
Yes.
And maybe there are pre-existing issues that then are exacerbated by the grief. People are just like, fuck it. Everything's lost anyway. Let me lose it all.
Yeah.
But it brings up interesting questions about how to be in a relationship with somebody who's wounded in that way, and how much is knowable, And then on top of that, it just brings up this fundamental issue of being in a relationship with somebody who has had previous intimate relationships, which is usually the case these days, right? Yeah. Occasionally somebody marries their high school sweetheart or whatever, and they're like the only person the other, there's only one person they've ever been with, but that's very rare, I think. And so, yeah, I mean, in my experience anyway, like my wife and I don't think have ever had a conversation about our exes ever. Which,
really?
No, I don't want to know. I don't care.
Oh my God. That's crazy. Because when I got together with my husband, I would ask him obsessively, like, tell me everything about the other people that you were with. And he, at a certain point, he was like, I'm going to not do this anymore. This is weird. But I felt like that was like how I was like, I have to know you. I have to know you completely.
Yeah. I mean, neither of us, I think, had like a ton of like long relationships, but like, I got to say, I'm not that curious. I mean, I'm assuming it was fine for a while and then it went away. Like it wasn't fine. And I don't know.
That's probably very healthy. I think my impulse was like unhealthy because I thought like, oh, there's a way that I could like know him through these past relationships. But like, the truth is like, I'm not ever going to be in those relationships. I don't really know what it was like. And like, he is also not currently in them and like cannot communicate what it was really like. And I think and he's totally incurious about my past relationships too, which I was kind of like wounded by. But then I think
you mean you don't care?
No, but what if they were great? But
I mean, I'm sure they were for a minute. I mean, they wouldn't have been in a relationship, but like, I can only speak for myself. Like, I think as an adult, especially for me, it was like, if I know that this is not going to lead to, I guess, like marriage, to something serious, I didn't have it in me to just be in a relationship. As soon as I sort of knew, like it could kind of confirm internally that it wasn't going to be like a lifelong thing, I just personally couldn't I just got out. I was like, no. And then I just didn't date because I hadn't found somebody that I thought it was worth the effort,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I agree. We got engaged within 4 months of knowing each other, and then we got married 5 months after that. So
it's like my parents. My parents got engaged. My parents got engaged after 3 months, and they've been married for, I want to say it will be, or this year it would have been 54 years.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I think 54 years this past August.
Yeah.
So, when you know. I mean, I think that's...
The older you are, too, I think quicker.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. My mom was 22.
Oh, right.
She was like 21. She had a baby at 22, wow. I think, But it was different times.
Yeah.
Different times.
Yeah. That was 30 then.
Yeah. But I'm also curious, when you think about spirituality and the kind of woo-woo of it all when it comes to grief, like how to process grief, how to make sense, cosmically of, loss and death, which is coming for us all like soon, like in the cosmic scheme of things. Like it's a blink that you're here. It's a blink. And, some people, I don't think we have control over conditions. You're on some kind of clock, and some people are on like a really long clock and they live to be 100, and other people, they live their life and their lifespan just sort of ends at, like, I don't know, how old was your dad when he died of cancer?
62?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So 62, it's like, that's just the way the body was wired. You don't really have control over these things. I mean, I guess if you're smoking, I guess you have, there's
smokers who live for, it's crazy.
Yeah. So I guess like, you think about like losing your dad at a relatively young age, losing your brother at a very young age, navigating life, carrying this like burden of grief and having to sort all this stuff out. And then also maybe considering your Buddhist, family history. I think of this as like the father of a disabled child through like the Buddhist lens of karma and maybe past lives too. Though I'm not 100% sure about past lives. I don't know how you could be, unless I guess, there are people who purport to have like transcendent experiences in meditation where they see their past lives with clarity. I kind of lean in that direction. Like, I think there might be something to it, but until I have my own transcendent experience, which I'm like very eager for. I would love to have a transcendent experience. Yeah, it'd be nice. But I do sometimes find myself thinking like, okay, I have this kid who's really challenging and heartbreaking in some respects, just to raise and take care of. Like, what the fuck did I do in a past life? And I can sometimes be like, man, I must have been a beast. And like, this is what I get in this life because I have to learn how to not be a beast. And I kind of get down on myself. I'm like, God, I was so shitty in my past life. I must have just been awful, But then other times I'm like, no, like the reason karmically he came to me is because I could take care of him. And like I had it's not like I'm Mr. Strongman, but I do have at least some capacity to absorb this.
Yes.
So maybe like that's why it happened.
Yeah.
And I'm like, yeah, see, I have the capacity. I start to feel good about myself. But I'm curious, like, have you ever had those kinds of thoughts when it comes to like losing a father early, losing a brother early? Like, do you ever think about like your past life lineage and karma?
I mean, my dad certainly would have. He was really into that stuff. I think maybe not so much past life stuff, but I felt like cursed for a long time. Like, okay, I think only bad things happen to me. Like, I think that something, and I don't know if maybe karma is the part of it, like that I must have done something at some point, but I feel a little bit like I'm destined to lead a tragic life. And I think that was partly because I was like making all these bad choices after. I mean, I was just making bad romantic choices too for a long time.
You were in your 20s.
Yeah, that's what that's for. I know now everybody does that, right? But I thought, oh, this is like, because nobody can handle like this like young person who's a mess because her father and brother, her family's in shambles. And I think that I thought for a long time, maybe until I met my husband, that I was like destined to be sad forever.
That's a great story. That's a great story to tell yourself. I'm cursed. And by the way, I've told myself this story too. Like, there's a curse on me. Some people get like dealt a lucky hand. Some people don't. Most people don't.
Yeah.
This is my hand. I still sometimes fall into that cycle. And then I guess like what I'm trying to do is like watch that and just know that it's not necessarily true, nor is it me. It's not me. It's just the mind just jabbering, and eventually it'll dissipate. You just let it go.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, we all tell ourselves these stories, right? Like to make sense of the bad things that are happening to us.
I deserve this.
Yeah.
I ran a puppy mill in my past life.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing to tell yourself.
Well, sometimes that's like the story that makes the most sense, like bad things like this must only happen. You must have earned it somehow. Because otherwise the randomness of the bad things is like so awful. Like that means more bad things could happen at any time to anyone. Like that's also horrible. So I think, it makes sense to tell yourself a bad story, but you can also tell yourself a good story too.
Well, yeah, I mean, my grandparents my dad's brother is disabled. So my grandparents went through this too. They also lost a child.
Oh, wow.
They had a tough go of it, but, so I'm like, yeah, this kind of runs in my family. Like maybe we're caretakers for disabled people. That's crossed my mind, but this only happened to me. It didn't happen to any of my siblings, thank goodness, or, it just landed with us, but I don't know. I don't know. Eventually you just got to tell yourself a story, I guess, that's productive. Like settle on a good one, I guess would be my advice to myself.
Yeah. But I see why people like tell themselves like stories about, heaven and hell. And like, if you're good enough, then like good things will happen because God saw that you were being good. Like I get why that's so attractive because that makes you feel better. It's just like, I wish I could make that leap. Like I can't make that leap into like fantasy world.
Yeah, no, I can't either. I honestly and I get it. Like I totally agree with everything you just said, but there's a part of me that kind of draws a hard line where I'm like, you know what? I don't think it's productive ultimately to live in fantasy land.
Yeah.
Like,
right.
I don't know. Like, I don't know. I just think that like there's something kind of childish about it. Like, I get it. We're all scared. Let's just admit that we're scared and we don't know. Mm-hmm. And that we hope. Do you know what I'm saying? It doesn't have to be totally different. Let's just tweak the language a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know.
I feel like we were talking about this when the first time I talked to you 7 years ago, because I would just gotten engaged and I was like, I don't know if I believe like marriage. I don't know if I believe in like this idea that we can just say something is forever. And I feel like that, like, I feel like what's beautiful about marrying someone is you just kind of agree to like hope together. Like you agree to like hope it works out or to like hope, to share hope. And like, I think that's true for like everything. Like, that's the best that you can do is like agree, like try to have a little hope that something good will happen. And that's kind of where I landed. Maybe that's spirituality too, but the certainty of a God, the certainty of like marriage, the certainty of having children, like none of it's certain. Like none of that is real. So I got to find a new way to figure out how to like enter into those constructs.
Everything's impermanent.
Yeah, a Buddhism. See, they know the best.
It's all there in this book, these concerns. And you mentioned earlier too, that like after your 20s, you were kind of making bad choices and you were drinking too much. Did you have to stop drinking or did you just have to like chill out?
I just had to chill out. And actually now I hardly drink at all, but it's not like I'm sober. I just
got old. Or like
I got old and I had children and I was like, oh, drinking is like kind of the worst thing you can do for your body. And like, I also want to stay alive for a long time. So I kind of just stopped. And
yeah, I'm the same way. I think great. A lot, you know what? Yeah. I think this is in the ether. I think a lot of people are doing this. They're finally just being like, you know what? I feel like shit. I can't sleep.
Yeah.
I have a headache. I'm done. And like, I'm not going out like dancing or like, I'm not 24 anymore. So like, what's the point? I don't see the point.
It costs too much. I pay for it for too long after.
Yeah. I just heard, how George Clooney and his business partner made like an absolute fortune selling tequila. Yeah. Casamigos. You know that?
Yeah.
Their new venture, they're putting together a new venture and it's like, they're going to make a really good non-alcoholic beer. And I was like, those motherfuckers are going to make another fortune. I think that's going to have a moment. I think it's about to enter the zeitgeist where it's like, yeah, I like beer, but I'll just drink the kind that doesn't give me the flu.
Yeah. Yeah, I've had a few NA beers. It's nice because it feels like you're still doing the thing you used to do, but
that's what I mean. It's like without the poison in the thing. But I think the point is that a lot of these non-alcoholic beers don't really taste like a real beer, but I know this is like a vegan. It's like the fake meat. You have to sort of suspend disbelief.
Yeah.
I know it's like, what is it called? Beyond Meat, or I don't eat that stuff either, but I've had it before, and you're like, okay, this is good enough, but it's not real bacon.
Yeah.
Let's just be honest. So
yeah, I mean, hops taste like hops, and if there's no hops in it, then what's it going to taste like?
Yeah. Well, I mean, do you feel better having written this book? I mean, I wrote a sad dad, like autofiction, kind of about my experience with my son. Mm-hmm. And, this is like an eternal question on this show. And I think in writing circles about the cathartic nature of the process of making a book and whether or not it can yield genuine insight. And, I think you have to be tempered about this stuff to a degree, but I would land on the side of yes. Like, I think writing my book had a therapeutic value for me, especially as like a dude who's never done therapy. Like, the meditation that I do and the Buddhist stuff that I do and the exercise that I do and then the writing that I do is my version of kind of self-directed therapy. And I think the careful, slow, arduous, annoying, concentrated thought that goes into writing a book and rewriting a book over and over again.
Yeah.
Helped me. Like, it helped me shed some of the weight, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that the thing I felt the most about my grief was I felt really alone, and nobody could ever understand. I didn't know how to talk to anybody about it. Nobody wanted to talk to me about it. And writing this book, I felt like I could actually say something in a way like other people could commune with it. And that's been like the best. The way that I feel better is like, oh, I said exactly what I like think about grief, and someone else out there is going to read it and maybe feel the same way. And that is like all I ever wanted, was to not feel alone in this grief.
Okay, there we have it. That was Asia Gabel talking with me about writing, her book, life. The new novel is called Lightbreakers, and it is available from Riverhead. You can find out more at asiagabel.com. Follow her on Instagram. Again, it's called Lightbreakers, available now wherever books are sold. Go get your copy right now. Don't forget to subscribe to this podcast. Hit the subscribe button. Follow me on social media, Instagram and Blue Sky. Sign up for my newsletter over at bradlisti.substack.com. Support the show over at patreon.com/otherpplpod. If you want to join the book club or get an Other People t-shirt, just go to otherppl.com. If you want to get a deep dive course, if you want to write your novel, write your book, get better at writing, www.deepdive.audio. And if you have a moment to rate this show wherever you listen, so Apple Podcasts and so on, wherever you're listening, rate the show. Give it a rating, 5 stars if you're feeling generous, and then maybe write a little review. It helps. It helps the show in the algorithm. You know how that works. So I think that does it for today, right? Let me think. Yeah, I think that does it. I should be back on Tuesday with a new author interview. I can't tell you who it's going to be. It's one of those where it's a cliffhanger, it's TBD. I haven't recorded it yet, so we're just sort of hoping. But if it works out as planned, it's going to be a good one. You're going to be excited. I'm excited to share it with you, assuming it happens on Tuesday. It should happen. I think it's going to happen. I hope it will. It usually does. We'll just have to see.